Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back here to today's edition of Intuitive Angling, and really appreciate you guys checking today's video out and spending some time with me. Really appreciate that. And guys, today I've got two fun facts I want to share with you guys about bass that I have discovered on my own. I think probably 99.9% of the people don't know this, but it's something that I have seen in my own fishing that I've gotten reproducible results from, and I think that not only you're going to find them interesting, but it might help you guys catch some more bass after you hear what I'm going to tell you guys in today's video. Also, guys, a couple quick housekeeping tips that we do every day that you guys love to hear at the start of the videos. Just want to invite everybody to please swing by fishthemoment.com and check out my lake map breakdowns. We got them for all 4 seasons of the year, guys. I know we're starting to transition into fall, maybe into early winter, so we got maps all over the lakes for that. I'll put my Fish the Moment Lake Map Breakdown link in the description if you guys would like to get one. And also, please check out my Tackle Warehouse link I put in the description of the video. If you guys are interested in supporting intuitive angling here and help keep the lights on in the tackle room, if you use and bookmark that link for your tackle purchases, that goes a long way to helping the channel, so I really appreciate that. Okay, guys, here's 2 things that I have found out in bass fishing over many years that are facts that you never hear people talking about. Now, the first one is that most people don't realize that when a bass bites a lure, they can hit that lure from any direction. They can hit it from the top, they can hit it from both sides, they can hit it from underneath. And the biggest thing that a lot of people don't realize is they can hit a lure upside down. In other words, if you've got a lure laying on the bottom and you think a fish is nosing down on that bait like that, and he's looking at it, like with their bottom jaw, on the bottom like that, guys, they can flip over to where their eyeballs are pointing on the bottom, and they can eat that lure upside down. Now, here's how I figure this out, because when I catch a bass, one of the things that I do, and this is an important thing for you guys to do also, is when you do catch a bass, take note to where the hook is positioned in its mouth, because based upon where that hook is positioned in relationship to how you set the hook on it, that tells you the direction that the fish came to attack your lure. If the fish is hooked from the right side or the left side or the right side or the top, the bottom, whatever, it tells you how that fish attacked that lure, and that's going to give you a good idea to how those fish are positioned. But the most amazing thing, and I don't really understand why they do this, is when a bass turns upside down to where their belly is facing the surface and their dorsal fin is facing the bottom. The only way that I figure this out is by having caught bass that were hooked through the bottom lip. In other words, the hook goes right through the bottom lip after I set the hook like that. So I can't tell you how many times that I flipped next to a log or something like that, and I set the hook, and or a dock or whatever, and that bass is hooked on the bottom lip, the very, very bottom lip. In order for that hook to penetrate the bottom lip like that, when I pull up on the hook, that means the bass has got to be inverted. That means that jig or that worm or whatever that I flipped in there, when I set the hook and I brought that hook up in a vertical manner, if we're at the hook, the bass right there, that bass had to be upside down. So I don't understand why they do that. It's like, it goes to show you the versatility and mobility of a bass and the fact that they study it. I mean, when there is a lure down there on the bottom, especially a slow bait like that, bass will actually look at it from a ton of different directions. They'll come at it, they'll study it, they'll follow it, and most of the time, they won't bite it. It's like most of the time they look at it and swim off, and on the rare occasions you do get a bite, it's an exception to the rule, because it's my theory in fishing from what I've seen. Like I said, I don't want to know this with any type of cheater box. I want to keep that mystery and the magic open. But if you pull up to a prime piece of bass cover, let's say, for example, you're fishing in the month of May and you pull up to a secondary point outside of a spawning cove, there's bass there 100%. And probably if you throw that football head jig or crankbait or whatever, there's going to be bass coming around to investigate that crankbait or that football head jig. And I think that probably well over 90% of the time, bass will look at a lure and not bite it. I think if they bite a lure, they made a mistake. You know, if there's a football jig, you know, going along the bottom there, I think if there's 10 bass on that point that come over and look at that, you know, most of the time, none of them are going to hit it, or maybe one of them is going to hit it, simply because they don't make many mistakes. You don't survive on this planet as a bass for 3 million years by making mistakes. So from that standpoint, they're very smart with that. So, but anyway, fact number one, bass can bite a lure upside down. The second fact about this, and we've talked about this a little bit in the past, and I just have recently become to understand that this is a fact that a lot of people don't realize. Bass are fast in cold water. You know, ever since I was fishing for bass when I was a little kid, people told me that it was hard to catch bass in the wintertime because bass is a cold-blooded creature like a snake or a turtle, and their metabolisms are slowed down. They don't need to eat as much. They don't chase a lure, and, you know, they're difficult to catch because they're really lethargic. Guys, that's not true. I'm telling you, from jerkbait fishing in the wintertime, as much as I do for decades and decades on my lessons and fishing for fun and whatever, bass are fast in cold water. Bass are fast in 40-degree water. And I have seen it over and over about how sometimes in the wintertime, especially if the water's, you know, really, really clear, that I have to work my jerkbait fast in order to get the fish to hit it. A lot of people think that you got to soak a jerkbait and let it sit there forever and twitch it and like that. And there's sometimes you have to do that. But in a clear water situation, if you've got water visibility over 5 or 6 feet, I have been many times, especially over the past 4 or 5 years when I realized that this was the case and I intentionally sped the bait up, is that bass will hit a jerkbait fast in the wintertime, that you don't have to pause it much. As long as you're in that depth zone where those fish are at, and you've got a jerkbait that is in that zone, guys, they will come after a lure really fast. I told this story recently because it's a good example of it. I was fishing at Table Rock a couple years ago, and I was throwing a jerkbait over some submerged timber, and I got my jerkbait hung up. Water temperature was 42 degrees. It was January. I got my jerkbait hung up on this treetop, and I had been working my jerkbait slow, just twitch, pause, twitch, you know, just like you normally do. And anyway, I'm jerking this thing off the stump real hard like that, or off the treetop, and I popped it real hard. And when I popped it, it came free. And of course, when it came free, it just darted through the water super hard. And about a 2.5 pound bass nailed it as it just darted away from that tree after I got it hung up. And ever since then, I've really been working on speeding my baits up in the wintertime because I realized how fast a bass could move if they wanted to. So anyway, guys, that's 2 fun facts. Is, like I said, bass will hit a lure upside down from any angle, and also they move fast in cold water, which a lot of people don't think they do. And that's, you know, the thing about that, guys, that is how we need to find out things about bass. It's like, I think it is such a disrespect to the fish, and it's a disrespect to the sport, and it's a disrespect to yourself to have electronic technology figure these things out for you. It's just like how I figured out the bass turn upside down. I figured that out through my own deduction and experience on the water. Same with, you know, realizing that a bass, you know, reacts to, you know, a fast moving jerkbait. I don't want to use a cheater box to see how a bass reacts to a fast moving jerkbait. I want to do it through trial and error, because when you do it through trial and error, you put in your due diligence. You honor the sport, you honor the fish, and you honor the entire tradition of the sport by figuring out things, you know, through the trial and error process. So anyway, guys, just wanted to share that with y'all. I hope you guys are doing well. We'll talk later.